Hi, I'm Peter Bregman, and I'm here with John Maxwell, who is the author of The Five Levels of Leadership. He's also the author of somewhere between 40 and 60 other books on leadership, depending on how you count. He is not new to this subject. He has a lot of really interesting things to say about it. And I know for myself, I had an advanced copy of this, and I've already used it with clients. And I think it's a really, really smart book and a really smart concept. So I'm very thankful. John, thank you for being here with us, and I'm thankful to have a few minutes to be able to ask you some questions.
It's my delight, Peter. Thanks for having me.
So maybe give us a little bit of a synopsis of the five levels of leadership. Maybe a sort of short version of each of the levels so people get a sense if they haven't yet read the book.
Sure. In about 1976, I came to the conclusion that everything rises and falls on leadership. And that very simple statement really changed my life. I said to myself, if everything rises and falls on leadership, which I passionately believe is true, then I want to learn how to lead so that I can be successful in life. And I want to hang around leaders and see how they're successful. And I want to also be able to teach and write and train others how to lead. And that's a passion, Peter, that began, my goodness, what would that be now, 35 years ago. And out of that passion, I realized I needed to have a tool. I needed to have some kind of process to help people understand leadership, because if you go back into 1976, people didn't come to leadership seminars. You didn't go to bookstores and buy leadership books. You bought management books, fellowship books. And the reason why is because people that had a leadership position, Peter, they thought they were already a leader. It was kind of like, what do I need to be trained to be a leader? I already am one. And they looked at leadership like as a noun instead of a verb. And I began to understand that if I was going to really help people learn how to lead, I was going to have some kind of a teaching tool, of which the teaching tool became the five levels of leadership. And over the next 4 or 5 years, I slowly began, level by level, to develop the five levels until, I don't know, maybe within 6, 7 years after that, I really felt confident that what I was teaching and what I was believing about the five levels really did work. Now, very simply, level number one is the position level. The key word there is rights. When you get a position, a job description, you're a supervisor, 5 people, whatever, you have certain rights as a, quote, boss. And people follow you on level number one because they have to. And this is a good place to start. It's not a good place to stay. What's sad is, what I have known about leadership and the leadership organizations that I have had and all my leadership teaching exposure is, what's sad, Peter, is probably over half the people stay on level one.
And how is that, John? Because, you and I both know people who are in what seems like relatively successful organizations, sometimes relatively large organizations, who are clearly at this level one, where they have the position, they've been told they're leaders, they have CEO on their door and on their business card, and yet, and we'll talk about these other levels in a second, but that seems to be it. That seems to be where they stay. How do you explain
Well, it is where they stay.
Right.
And what's sad, here's what's sad. Nobody can stay at level one. I don't care what position they are in, and continue to grow.
Right.
So if I see a level one person, no matter where they are in a company, if they're really level one and they're thinking of leadership, here's what I know. They're not leading on the creative side. They're not leading on the consensus side. They're not getting best ideas. They're not having breath and fresh air in their organization. They're living on yesterday. They're leading on what they know, not what they're learning. They're not leading in the future. They're not going to be creative. They're not going to have that edge that you have to have in an organization and a company to be highly successful. And I can tell you right now, they're a dinosaur.
So I agree with that. And by the way, dinosaur doesn't mean old. There's a lot of young people I know who are sort of in those roles as well, and they're operating at that level. And I often see a lot of turnover at that. When you have a leader who's in kind of level one, you see people cycle through their organizations quickly because the good, strong people who want to grow don't really want to stay around a leader who doesn't want to grow.
Oh, no. Nobody wants to stay under a level one leader. I mean, it very quickly you hit that ceiling and you realize it's not going to get any better and it's not any fun living off of yesterday's thoughts. And so, therefore, the best people always, if it's a level one leader, look for other places to go. They've got to get somewhere where the lid's a little higher.
So why is it, how are they able to stay in their positions? Is it a board that doesn't recognize it? Is it that there's no one telling them you're at level one and you got to move forward? How do they stay in these roles?
Well, I think they stay in these roles because they've settled in, it's comfortable, and they're recognized in the roles, and they have maybe in some cases a certain amount of power, and it's easier. It's easier to be a level 1 leader. I mean, think about it. You don't have to learn, grow, change, develop.
Right.
I mean, you just kind of say, look, I'm the boss, follow me. This is the way it works. But what it does is it puts a lid on the person's career, and it puts a lid on everybody else's career. Here's the thing that I think is challenging about leadership. When you're good, it gets better for everyone.
Right.
And when you're bad, it gets worse for everyone.
Yep.
And a level 1 leader, sadly enough, not only puts a lid on his or her life, but that level 1 leaders put a lid on everybody else's life. And so it becomes a very stymied, stagnant environment if it's level 1. And so it's a good place to start. It's not a good place to stay. Now, level number 2 is relational. And the key word there is, it's called the permission level, and it's based on relationships. And on level number 2, here's the difference: people follow you because they want to.
Got it.
And that it may be one level 1 to 2, but there is a major distance between those levels.
Right.
There's a lot of difference between a person who follows you because they have to, and so therefore they're giving you their least amount of effort, and a person who's following you because they want to, which means you're going to get more energy out of them, you're going to get more effort out of them, you're going to get more creativity out of them, you're going to get more time out of them. And you know, Peter, as well as I do, you cannot build an organization on the least amount of effort. You can't build a marriage on the least amount of effort. You can't build anything on how little do I have to give to make this thing happen. So level 2 is the first time that there is a potential for growth and hope within this leadership organization, because now people are starting to give you the energy that you need that's going to allow you to have the success that you need to, obviously, to grow and develop. Okay, so that's level number 2.
Great. So level 1 is I've got the title. Level 2 is I've got the permission and people like me, and so they want to follow me. What's level 3?
Okay, and energy is increased. Level number 3 is the production level. The key word is results. Mm-hmm. And on level number 3, people follow you because of what you've done for the organization. In other words, you are a producer. Things are better because you're there. You're increasing the bottom line in the organization. And by the way, Peter, this is where the leader establishes credibility. Because people only want to follow somebody that can do it themselves. You know, we teach what we know, but we reproduce what we are.
Right.
So what happens at level number 3 is if I am producing and you're on my team, you're much more apt to follow me, not because I said something, but because I did something. People do what people see. Right. And Stanford research says 89% of what you and I know today we learn visually. So leadership is a very visual thing. And on level number 3, you gain credibility. And on level number 3, all of a sudden, people begin to see you flesh out the vision, which allows them to be drawn to the vision itself. It's a very authentic level to live on, of which gives you a tremendous amount of credibility.
That's great.
Level 4.
Okay.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, please. Go ahead. Level 4.
Level number 4 is the people development level. And on the people development level, now the key word here is reproduction. You are now understanding that people are the most appreciable asset within the organization, and you are not only doing that, but you're valuing them and understanding that the more you train them, empower them, teach them, equip them, the more you're going to be able to reproduce yourself. You're going to be able to reproduce your time, your energy, your effort, your dollars. Level 4 is the compounding level. On level 3, when I produce, I'm adding. On level 4, when I have other people producing with me and developing them, now we are compounding, and that's where the company really begins to take off and really begins to have the success it wants. Now, that's a tough level to be on.
Right.
A lot of leaders would rather have followers than other leaders, but on level 4, you're now starting to develop leaders because they can turn around and develop other people, and it begins to have a continuing compounding effect.
Well,
level
and also, I would say that a lot of leaders feel like if they have people liking them and they're producing, then they're doing great, and that's a great level of leadership. The issue that I've seen in organizations is that the problem is succession at that point. You've built an organization that's so dependent on you to produce and you to, you're the guy or the woman there who's leading, in such that if something happens to you or something happens to someone on your team, then the organization falls apart.
And that's exactly what happened to me, Peter, in my first organization that I led. I did everything, and I was pretty good, to be honest with you, and we had some tremendous growth. But 6 months after I left it fell apart.
Right.
And that became very discouraging to me. And I said, wait a minute, I have something wrong. Well, that's when I discovered level 4. That is, when you develop people, you have potential for legacy. You have potential for everybody else lifting the load. Now we're into teamwork, which makes the dream work, the whole process, and it's a great level to be on.
Right.
If you and I do levels 1, 2, 3, and 4 well enough, long enough, we get to level number 5, the Pinnacle level. And that the key word there is respect. And it is the top level of leadership. And that is, I have done so well with so many in training and developing them for so long that I become bigger than life. And here's what's interesting. The organization or the company gives you level 1, Peter. Then you work hard to do good in level 1, 2, 3, and 4, and you earn your stripes on those levels. What's interesting, when you get to level 4 and you do it well enough, long enough, there's a time when the people within the organization will put you at level 5. So they literally put you there. You don't put yourself there.
And what characterizes level 5?
Well, I think success over a long period of time, great relationships with your people over a long period of time, the very fact that you've reproduced yourself dozens and dozens of times, and so you have a lot of your DNA within that organization. The fact that you've been a person of integrity and a person of trust to where people know they can invest their time and effort in you, all of that is part of helping make a level 5 leader.
But how is level 5 different than level 4? Is it level 4 just done over a long period of time, or is there some sort of character difference between level 5 and level 4?
I think the difference is that there are people who have developed other people, but they either haven't done it long enough or they haven't done enough of them to become a level 5 leader, and so therefore they kind of stay at level 4, which is a very good place to stay, by the way. I think I have to have integrity in the teaching level 5. I think that there is a person that's got a level 5 would be more what I would call a gifted leader. Mm-hmm. I think that there are certain gifts, the question is, are leaders born? And, I always kind of joke and say, well, we're all born, okay? As leaders, followers, we're all born. I've never been a non-born leader. But there are people that, without any question, Peter, that are highly gifted in leadership. And they're usually the ones that, they've done it so well with so many, there's kind of almost an aura about them that people finally say they go to level 5.
And it's hard to teach that aura. It's hard to teach that level 5.
I don't teach it.
Right.
It's the only level I don't teach. I just tell people get to level 4 and do that with as many people as you can for as long as you can, and eventually probably you'll get to level 5. And I think that I don't think you teach level 5. I think level 5 is a result of the first 4 levels done well.
So let me ask you a question about thought leadership. Thought leadership, when you don't have a bunch of people reporting to you, but you're still making an impact on the world through your leadership, maybe through your writing, maybe you have a blog, maybe in other ways, that in your art even. I mean, you're kind of a leader in what you're doing. How do these levels work in relation to that kind of thought leadership?
Well, that's a great question. The first thing I would say is I remember doing a conference one time, Peter, and a young man who just was getting his MBA raised his hand and says, I love your leadership principles, John. But he said, I don't have a company. I'm not leading anybody. I'm just getting my MBA degree. He said, who do I start leading? Where do I start? And I looked at him and I said, start with yourself. Start with leading yourself. In fact, I said, think about it for a moment. If you wouldn't follow yourself, why should anyone else follow you? Right. So I think thought leadership, and when you're talking about the fact I don't have this company, I don't have this organization, I don't have this supervisor's job, what do I do? I think the first thing is you still work on yourself.
Right.
And you work on the things that will help you to go up the 5 levels of leadership. And so let's just kind of play this out just for a moment. Let's say that I am a thought leader and I have influence. I'm leading a lot of people, and I'm not leading them flesh to flesh. I'm leading them maybe through writing or through blogging or something like that, and I'm influencing them. Can I tell you something? If as a thought leader you're not relational with your people and your words, and they'll feel connected or disconnected with you. I mean, what does the reader do? The reader asks the question every time they come to the end of the page, and that is, should I turn the page? Is this book good enough for me to turn the page? Is there something of value there that keeps me going? Nobody's there to tell me to keep reading the book. So there has to be some relational aspect to you, even if you're not flesh on flesh. If you're influencing people of where they can connect with you. That's why I wrote the book, Everyone Communicates, Few Connect. It's not an amount of talking or having thoughts. Do the thoughts connect? Do my words connect? Am I relationally? When you go to level number 3, when the things that I write, the thoughts that I share, do they work? I mean, do they have the power to change a life? I mean, do I see some results out of my writing? Do I see some result? out of my speaking? Do I see results out of my thinking? Am I having people come up to me and say, look, I read this, and I can promise you it turned me around. Or, hey, can I share something you gave to me? That see, there has to be some fruit. There has to be some results in it to keep your base growing and for your leadership to be successful. Right. And I think level 4 continues on. Do I not only help change lives, but do I see the people that are having changed lives? Are they going out and are they being a person of significance in other people's lives also? Are they reproducing themselves? So the levels of leadership, I think, can be used in a very small group. I think they can be used for thought leaders who basically don't have maybe offices and people visually flesh kind of following them, or they're not pressing flesh every day with people. I think the 5 levels of leadership are pretty much principles of growing in your leadership development from one stage to another that allows you to always increase your influence. Because, Peter, the higher you go in the 5 levels of leadership, the more influence you have and the easier it is to lead.
Right. That's great. That's great, John. And I can really see how the levels of leadership work if you don't have anyone reporting to you. I mean, it really is about changing hearts and minds in the world and instigating action by other people and creating leaders from other people out there by what you say, by what you write, by what you put out in the world. So that's great. John, one last question. By the way I counted, this was your 39th book. Someone else said maybe, in terms of other books, maybe you were up to 60. Whatever it was, what's left? What's left? There's obviously a lot left in you. What's left to be said on leadership? What are you working on now?
Well, I try to be working on 3 books at a time, closing one up, writing one, and creating one. And I can tell you right now, I'm as excited as I am with the 5 levels of leadership because I do believe it's my best work on leadership. And I think it's my best work on leadership very simply, not because it's my latest book, but because it's the only book I've ever written on leadership where I had 30 years of teaching it before I wrote it.
Right.
And so when I wrote this book, it was already mature. Right. It wasn't something I just thought of a year and a half ago, so I put it on paper and put it out. It's something that I've answered thousands of questions when I've lectured on the 5 levels of leadership. So it's been pressed by questions. It's been proven by time and experience. So I'm very excited about the 5 levels because I believe it's my best leadership stuff yet that I put out. And I kind of inwardly laugh a little bit, Peter, when you said what's next, because I'm 64 and I can tell you I have this fear once in a while that I'll wake up one day and I won't have another idea. That it's all over. It's kind of like there's a sign in my mind that says dead end, and I guess you just go out and play golf and kind of visit the grandchildren and hope for a few more years to live. But right now I'm writing a book on personal growth that I'm passionate about because sometimes I'm not sure that I'm more passionate about personal growth than I am about leadership. Because I just love growth. I know. So I'm writing a book on personal growth that'll be coming out in a year, and then I'm writing a book on how to overcome failure. I've got it on 2/3 of the way down, and so I don't know how many more books I have left in me, but I have at least 2 more. Let's start there. Okay.
That's great, John. It's a real pleasure. Thank you for taking the time out. It's a real pleasure to connect with you. Again, I love the book, The 5 Levels of Leadership. And I've used it already with my clients, and it's been very, very useful. So thank you for writing it, and I look forward to further conversations with you.
Peter, thanks for the interview, and I look forward to some more times together with you. Take care, my friend.
Take care. Bye-bye.